Alright, I wasn't able to get it out with the position it was in. So what I did is I raised up the other side of the vehicle so that the wheel was off the ground. Then I had an assistant turn the wheel for me until this portion right here got to where I could get a pry bar on it. Specifically, this pry bar. I've used it several times before and it works pretty good for this purpose. So, anyways, let me get to that. Here's pretty much how I did it last time. Alright, here we go. Here comes that oil I was telling you about. So, I'm going to stick this under here. Right there to catch it. The wind's blowing, so I guess I'll just have to go a little bit higher. I probably could have put that transmission, or not transmission, I probably could have put that jack stand a little further back. I'd forgotten that this thing was right underneath here. So when you do yours, move it back a little bit. And that way you can get your pan under here. I had a really hard time getting that out too. What I ended up using was this one right here. And I stuck it up in here like this. Of course it was right about here when I was doing it. And what I would do is I would hit the bottom of the pry bar, nail puller, or whatever you want to call it, while I was pulling down on this end over here. And eventually it just let loose. They are a real burger to get out sometimes, and this is one of them for today for me. So let's go ahead and get this all the way out. Alright, I'm on the outside now. Now you can just pick it up. Might have to move the this assembly over a little bit, but you can get it out. I just held the back of the brake caliper here, and then as I was pulling, I would go ahead and twist. Sorry about that, I was blowing a fly that was biting me. The bugs out here are crazy today. I think the heat index out here is about 107, but I'm in the shade, so it's probably in the lower mid 90s. 100% humidity, just a little bit warm. Alright, here's what it looks like on the inside. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change that seal right there. That's going to be fun. I don't know if you guys noticed it. You can see that little oil spot there, and this one here next to my foot in the tire, it got really big. Here's another one right here. The problem is that seal right there is leaking. Also, the one on the other side was leaking quite a bit too. So that's why I say, if you're going to be in here with the axles, go ahead and change the seals too. You know, they're only like $5-6 a piece. That's not a lot of money. And besides, if you put a new one in, you probably won't be back in here in 2 years. You'll probably be back in here maybe 10 years from now. And, well, I don't like seeing that on my driveway. So anyways, let's go ahead and get busy on that seal in there. Well, this thing has been a real booger. It doesn't seem to want to come out, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to use this little nail puller, put a pipe over it, and then pull it. You can see that the top is finally starting to separate. Wow, I've been on this for like 45 minutes now, trying to get this out of here. Well, there it is. Finally got it. That was a real booger. Now I've got to go in there and clean all that up. Here's the new seal. I'm getting ready to go ahead and install it. I'll probably put a little bit of oil around the edge right here to help it slide in better. Then I'll stick it in there and I'll show that to you. Alright, I've went ahead and put a little bit of oil around the outside of the race where it goes. Just transmission fluid from the inside. Then I'm going to set this in here and kind of push it in there like that. Just enough so it stays there. In order to help me seat the seal, I've decided to go ahead and use a board that I had lying around. It's 3 inches by 3/4 inches by 18 inches long. Also, to help keep the spindle bearing or spindle assembly out of the way, I've decided to use a 2x4, which I sandwiched in there, and it's about 16 inches long. It seems to be doing a pretty good job. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get this board up in here and set it up against that seal and tap it in. Using my long pry bar, I was able to seat the bearing all the way in after the board pushed it a good 95%. The thing is that the bearing is actually in a recessed metal area, and you need something in order to brush up against the edge and then finish it off. I was also using my heavy hammer, very, very lightly, may I add you, in order to get that in there and not deform the seal cage. It's all the way in now. Now we can go ahead and install our CV shaft. Take a little bit of transmission fluid from the shaft area and treat the seal really good with it right there, so that when you go install the new CV axle, it should slip in without tearing or damaging the seal. Now that I've gotten my brand new CV axle out of the box, now's a good time to inspect it. Make sure that your teeth are fairly good and uniform all the way around, no defects. Also make sure that your splines are clean. This right here, this bluing, is nothing to worry about. That's just part of the hardening and nulling process. Over here, make sure that your boots are in good shape and that they don't move or slide off of the ends. Check both sides. When you get down to this side, this is where the bearing, or where it actually rides inside. So check it too. Make sure that it's no dings or marks or anything like that. Make sure that the surface that your bearing or your seal will ride on is also smooth and good. If you have any problems with this area, now would be a good time to take it back. Some of you may have noticed that there's no ring here. Well, that's because I've actually taken the ring off. Before you say, oh, you have to have the ring on there, you are absolutely correct. I'm going to put the ring back on it. But the ring on this one was spread out about this far. It was ridiculous. So I've taken it off to recompress it so that it'll barely be above the edge, which is where it needs to be. The ring is essential to keep the drive shaft in seated properly on this portion of the drive shaft. Remember that the shaft is designed to flex, go in and out. And the reason is because as the car suspension moves up and down, it has to be able to flex. This ring right here is what maintains this portion into the vehicle transmission. So it's essential that you don't forget to put this back on. Now you say, well, what if you left it on the way it was spread out? Well, then it wouldn't go in, and more than likely it would get caught on the inside, and then it would damage these gears or cause metal shavings, and you wouldn't notice it until you were going down the road, metal shavings started to get up in your transmission. This should go in with a little bit of force, but not so much that you have to really reef on it hard with a ball or a maul or something like that. Go ahead and take the nut off here so that you can install it. Grab a little bit of grease right here and put just a little bit of grease in this area right here for the seal. Also put a very light sheen here. Grease is not transmission fluid, so you don't want a lot in there. You don't want all that getting up in your transmission. But a little bit right here on the surface won't hurt it. With that done, let's go ahead and get this ring back on. Basically, you just walk it around like this and then snap it on. I need two hands to do that, but I'm sure if you guys could figure it out if you had to. Here's the basic concept. You grab on the edge right here that it goes in, and then you just slowly push it around and walk it around and then push down until it snaps into place. Here you go. I've got it started now. Now all I have to do is walk it around and push it into place. You could probably use your pliers or something, or maybe even a very small ball peen. Just be very careful not to chip your teeth, and then push it all the way down into the hole. Like that. When I initially did this was way out there, a lot further than this.